Welcome to This Note. Today, we're going to completely transform how you look at the software that is quite literally running our world. We're taking your mindset from being a passive consumer of technology and shifting it to an empowered digital creator. We're going to decode the apps we all use every single day. We'll explore not just what they are, but exactly how they're built, how they generate massive business value, and how you can actually leverage them to build your own future. So let's dive right in.
Over the next few minutes, we'll be covering our app-driven world, app anatomy, the development roadmap, digital business, and finally, the AI future.
Think about the sheer scale of this for a second. Billions, literally billions of people rely on apps every single day. We use them for remote work, managing our money, accessing healthcare, and creating content. Apps have basically become the primary lens through which we interact with technology, whether that's on our phones, our laptops, or even our smartwatches. They represent, without a doubt, the greatest problem-solving and wealth-building tools of our entire generation.
So, let's establish our baseline right off the bat here. What actually is an app? Well, unlike a generic operating system, which really just manages your device's hardware in the background, an application is highly specialized. It's purpose-built software designed specifically to solve user needs and help you perform tasks seamlessly. Whether you're talking about a mobile app on your iPhone, desktop video editing software, or a web-based collaboration tool, its entire reason for existing is just to solve a specific problem efficiently.
Let's get into Section 1, Anatomy of an Application.
To really understand apps, you have to look at their core architecture. Think of the front end of an app, like the beautiful dining room of a high-end restaurant. This is your user interface and user experience. The buttons, the fonts, the colors, the smooth animations. It's everything you can see and touch. But the back end? That's the bustling, chaotic kitchen hidden in the back. That's where you find the databases, the complex logic, the security protocols, and cloud services. It does all the heavy lifting to make sure your dining room experience is completely flawless.
But here's the million-dollar question. How do that dining room and kitchen actually talk to each other? Enter APIs, or Application Programming Interfaces. APIs act exactly like waiters. They take your specific request from the front end, they securely fetch the right data from the back-end kitchen, or even from third-party services like a payment gateway or Google Maps, and then they deliver that perfectly prepared data right back to your screen.
Let's walk through exactly what happens when you tap an app icon. In a matter of milliseconds, a highly complex sequence triggers. First, the launch sequence fires up and loads the necessary resources. Next comes authentication, which securely verifies that you are who you say you are. Then, those API waiters we just talked about get to work, fetching fresh, synchronized data from the cloud. And finally, boom, the app is ready for you to interact with. Every single time you open an app, this exact invisible workflow executes flawlessly.
Moving right along to Section 2, the App Development Roadmap. If you're ready to start building, this is your blueprint. Phase 1 is all about fundamentals, understanding UI/UX principles and basic programming logic. Phase 2 is where you build real skills through simple hands-on projects. Then, Phase 3 is where the magic happens. You find a real problem, design a solution, and actually create your first app. In Phase 4, you get your store descriptions ready and hit publish. And finally, Phase 5 is the scale phase, where you add features, automate workflows, and grow a sustainable business.
Now, as pretty much any startup founder will tell you, success is often about knowing what not to do. You can save yourself immense time and money by dodging some classic developer pitfalls. Never, ever build without real user research. You have to be solving a real problem. Also, don't skimp on security and definitely don't ignore accessibility features, and please avoid overcomplicated navigation flows or launching without rigorous testing. Keep your interfaces brilliantly simple and always listen to your users. All right, Section 3, Building Your Digital Business. Let's talk about monetization, because understanding how software generates revenue is absolutely crucial. There isn't just one way to make money here. You could build a SaaS product, software as a service that relies on recurring subscriptions. You could use seamless in-app purchases to unlock premium features, or run targeted advertising for free-to-play models. You could even build business-to-business tools and sell highly lucrative enterprise licenses to massive organizations. When you match the right revenue model with the right audience, the digital income potential is just staggering.
Here's a really important takeaway. You don't actually have to launch your own startup from scratch to win here. Mastering these concepts opens doors to incredibly lucrative, future-proof careers. The industry desperately needs full-stack developers who get both the front end and the back end. They need UI/UX designers to craft amazing experiences, product managers to steer the vision, and QA and DevOps engineers to keep everything running smoothly. The modern digital economy is constantly hunting for people who understand how these systems work.
So where do you actually begin?
Well, you can start applying this today by building something simple but genuinely valuable. Think about things like a smart habit tracker, an AI study assistant, or maybe just a basic CRM and appointment scheduler for local freelancers. You don't have to build the next global social media empire on day one, right? Just start by solving one specific, tangible problem for one specific group of people.
Finally, Section 4. The Frontier, AI, and Beyond.
Look, AI is absolutely no longer some futuristic novelty. It is the core engine powering modern software. Today's apps are fully integrated with smart virtual assistants, hyper-personalized content recommendations, real-time predictive analytics, and automated content generation. AI is taking apps from being these static, rigid tools and turning them into dynamic, intelligent partners that actually learn and adapt to you as you use them. To give you some context on where we are, think about how fast this has evolved. In the 90s, we were dealing with isolated, clunky desktop software. Then the 2000s hit us with the mobile revolution, putting insane computing power right in our pockets. The 2010s brought us cloud-synchronized apps, so our data could just follow us anywhere seamlessly. And now, in the 2020s and beyond, we are full speed into the era of AI-native applications, spatial computing, and voice-first interfaces. The pace of change is just accelerating. And as things like the Internet of Things, or IoT, and edge computing really start to mature, tomorrow's apps are going to be profoundly integrated into our physical environments. We won't even consciously open them half the time. They'll just operate autonomously and securely in the background, constantly anticipating our needs, solving daily challenges, and automating our busy work. So we've covered the anatomy, the roadmap, the business models, and the AI-powered future. You now have the professional blueprint to go from being a simple consumer of tech to a highly empowered creator. You know how to learn, build, innovate, and monetize. So I want to leave you with one defining question. Now that you understand exactly how this digital world is built, what problem are you going to solve next?